Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2002 action comedy, All About the Benjamins. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I would like to give a special shout out to Shine for yet again requesting another review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, All About the Benjamins, to me personally, is a gem. I think it's a really fun, entertaining, and genuinely exciting mix of action and comedy, and I really wish that it did better. I wish it did better financially, first and foremost, because critic reviews aren't really what sways studios in terms of making a franchise. It's the box office. I wish it did significantly better in the box office, so we could have had at least one more film with these characters, because this was just so much fun to watch. It's directed by a guy named Kevin Bray, and I would say this is definitely his best film. And he did some all right work in the Walking Tall remake with The Rock after this, but I would say that this is his best work as a director. Definitely took a lot of influence, and when it comes to his style, from Michael Bay, specifically the Bad Boys films. But I don't really think that's a bad thing, because Bad Boys is a classic in its own right, and it took place in Miami, so it kind of is something that I feel really fits when it comes to the setting. And I still think that he added his own little touches here and there in terms of the way he would utilize a certain camera pan or slow mo, and so on during an action sequence, or during various other scenes, uh, including scenes that weren't really anything involving action, but just some fun little montages. It's a movie that really does have a good amount of energy to it, and it's very evident when it comes to the direction. Like it's got a good uh, feeling, and it just feels like there's just adrenaline in every shot. Like, it's not a movie that has these moments visually where it just kind of gets stuck in the sand, or it's grounded too much. Like, it's very peppy, it's very energetic, and for an action comedy, that's definitely a approach that really fits, and it helps add to the film's sense of frenzied fun, because a lot of it is a series of events that are happening very close to one another in a very tight time frame. So it makes sense that visually things would be just as tightly packed and tightly wound. And I think he did a remarkable job in terms of creating a very relaxed atmosphere on set, which really enabled a lot of the cast members, Ice Cube, Mike Epps, and so on, to really grow into their roles and get very comfortable and wind up creating some just amazing chemistry with one another, and some really great improv, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of the jokes in this, like the famous hairline bit in the bathroom by Mike Epps, that was more than likely completely improvised by Mike Epps, and it wasn't in the screenplay. And there's something to be said about having a atmosphere on set that enables that kind of creativity to come through. And I really feel that Kevin Bray brought that to the film, and he brought his own experience as a music video director to the movie too, which created some really stylish visuals, and it's a flashy looking film at times, and that's something that really does make the film pop. And I miss this kind of direction, to be honest. I know some people think that this is like direction that's dated nowadays, but it's colorful, it's got energy to it. It also is willing to be a little ambitious when it comes to some of the camera work. I'm getting tired of the play it safe direction where they're like not really moving the camera that much, or if they are, they just are kind of doing it to show off and not really for any specific reason that really adds to the scene, or they're just shooting things in a way where everything's just dark and dingy and bland looking. I'm so tired of that. There are so many movies nowadays that you can't differentiate from your average show on television or streaming because they all use the same post production filter or whatever after they're done shooting. Films like this, yeah, you got this kind of baked camera work with some of the contrast kind of turned up at times, but it's still something that is much more visually interesting and fun. The screenplay by Ice Cube and Ronald Lang, it's very much a take on Midnight Run, and I would say that I personally prefer Midnight Run with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin over this, but this is still a pretty close second when it comes to that kind of movie, where you have this bail bondsman who's tasked with trying to get this guy who has this money out on him, this I wouldn't say a warrant, but there's a bounty on him, so there's a bounty on this guy. He's got to keep an eye on him and or catch him, but then they throw in this lottery ticket angle, which I thought was relatively inspired. Like, it raises the stakes even more, where this petty criminal, the Reggie, the small time hustler, his girlfriend Gina, she gives him these numbers for the lottery, and they wind up getting the winning numbers. But Reggie, because he's such a knucklehead, he leaves the lottery ticket with these diamond thieves, because he hid in in the back of this van that the diamond thieves had in order to keep away from Ice Cube's character, this bounty hunter named Tyson. And it leads to Tyson and Reggie becoming an unlikely pair. And Tyson is trying to go legit because he's trying to stop this diamond thief guy and get the diamonds back so that he can get the recognition and get the reward, so then he can start his own private detective agency. And of course, Reggie, he just wants to get the lottery ticket. And you have a lot of moments for some really fun back and forth between the characters, and a consistent and genuinely I wouldn't say intense, but definitely a good amount of tension throughout the script, despite the comedy, despite the shenanigans, despite the hairline jokes. uh which that scene is just laugh out loud hilarious. Like, Mike Epps' line delivery in that scene is just gold. It's like, when you dream, you don't dream. You have movies. Because his hairline is so fucked up. And the whole, like, when you salute, you have to go over there. The hairline song, you'll never find a hairline like mine. Or even just the bit where he's he's at the convenience store earlier on in the movie, and he's just doing this dumb song and dance with the numbers that his girlfriend gave him. Like, there's just a lot of just really funny bits in this movie. And like I said, I don't think a lot of it really has to do to the screenplay. I think a lot of it's just improvised. So I think, like, the main plot line, how things unfold, how you have the diamond thieves. They think that they are giving the real diamonds to the seller, but then it turns out to be uh a joke because there's no diamonds, and it was just one of those things where the guy didn't trust them, so he's like, hey, I don't have the diamonds now, but because I don't trust you, so but they are safe and you'll get your money. And that leads to the diamond thieves. They're trying to find the diamonds at the same time as um, Reggie and Tyson. And then Reggie's trying to find his lottery ticket. And so they work together. And initially it's for a different reason. But then eventually they find a common cause. And yeah, there's some cliches here when it comes to the script. Like with Reggie and Tyson throughout the film, they're initially at odds, but then at a certain point, they start to like one another. They start to become friends and partners. But then there's a moment where there's a falling out. Thankfully, though, it didn't last that long, so I will give the screenplay credit for that. It didn't linger on that too much like other scripts have done. The finale, there's stuff involving a racetrack, and there's a fight on a boat, and it's fine. I wouldn't say it's the most explosive, most exciting finale, but for the kind of film that it is, it works all right. And I think the script, for the most part, is satisfying. Like, it has a satisfying ending, even though it's not as action packed or as explosive as it could be. I still think it works for the kind of movie that they're trying to do. Because you have to keep in mind, Tyson's just a regular, average bounty hunter, and the same thing for like Reggie. Reggie's not a martial artist or an action hero or anything. So they just kind of work with the limitations of the characters, and I think it works out all right in the end. I like how Reggie's girlfriend is incorporated into the script, Gina, as well as Pam, Tyson's girlfriend. And there are a good amount of scenes where there's still a lot of either intrigue, maybe a little bit of mystery in terms of where the diamonds are, and also a lot of variety in terms of the different sort of things that the characters get involved with. Like the opening scene, I thought was quite a just crazy, wild way to open the movie, with Tyson going after these rednecks in a trailer, and one of them is Anthony Michael Hall of all people. And these rednecks are so uh so obsessed with the South that they even have like a Confederate flag on the wall. And yeah, that you think that it's going to go one way, and then it just goes completely sideways and just goes into absolute insanity where Anthony Michael Hall's girlfriend shows up. She's got a cast in her leg for some reason, and she's got a shotgun and starts blasting. And then you have Ice Cube, just trying to stay alive, and then eventually he gets upper hand and tases Anthony Michael Hall in the balls. And I like how the taser is incorporated later on in the film, where Mike Epps' character, he loses Tyson's gun, and he needs another weapon because Tyson gave him his spare gun, but he lost it. So now he's like, I need something, and then Tyson gives him the taser. He's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then they do actually utilize it in the finale, in the climax, against the villains. Yeah, it's one of those screenplays where, yeah, it doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything, and it's not something that you haven't seen before, but it still is effective because of the lottery ticket angle, and because of the fact that it does a good job initially establishing these characters and their different personalities, and really giving them opportunities to shine in that department. So you really start to like these characters. So the fact that things are a little bit predictable at times doesn't bother you that much because you're still having a good time. You're still invested in the story because of the strength of the characters. And that's what makes the ending still satisfying, even though, yeah, I mean, could have had used a little bit more action, but it's still something that clicks because it still ends the way that you were expecting or you want it to. Uh, the the two main characters, Reggie and Tyson, they reestablish their friendship, their partnership. Reggie gets his lottery ticket. Um, Tyson gets his private investigation business. They ride off into the sunset, and it's just a movie that puts you in a good mood. It's got good vibes as well, and yeah, it's just a fun film, and I think that the script does a good job just maintaining that sense of fun throughout. And that's not necessarily always the easiest thing to do when it comes to an action comedy, balancing the action and comedy well, and just consistently having a entertaining plot with a lot of moments for the characters to interact with one another and to really bring some genuine laughs. And I think the two writers they do a great job establishing that and accomplishing that. The cast I thought was great for this kind of movie. Like Ice Cube and Mike Epps, the two have amazing chemistry. Their rapport is remarkable. I just love watching the two play off of one another. Ice Cube is a great straight man type of personality to Mike Epps's uh, shtick and the kind of character that he's playing in the film. And this is a million times a better take on the ride along movie, if you ask me. Because in a lot of ways, Ice Cube kind of plays the same character, but instead of him being a cop, he's a bounty hunter. And I just didn't really buy the chemistry between Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. Here, the chemistry between Mike Epps and Ice Cube, it's very evident from like the first frame that the two share together. And it's understandable because they had worked together already. So they already had established chemistry. And that really does pay off with the two and their scenes together in the movie. They're also good on their own. Like Mike Epps in particular is still really funny on his own, or just working with Eva Mendes. And Eva Mendes, for the role that she was asked to play, the hot, sexy, charming, funny in her own way, badass in her own way girlfriend, uh, she pulled that off really well too. I honestly think it's one of her best roles and one of my favorite roles of her because I just think she's having a blast playing this character, and you really can see it on screen that she's having just the most fun you could ever possibly have playing this role and working with Mike Epps in all these different scenes. And the villains, I will say this, like Tommy Flanagan and his stick my finger in an electric socket hairstyle, which I think they even referenced that in the movie, which I thought was hilarious because I was thinking the same thing. The main antagonist, he's a speedboat dealership owner trying to get these diamonds, and his right hand woman Ursula, who's his lover, works for him, played by Carmen Chaplin. Those two, I would say, out of the cast, are probably the weaker members of the cast. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, Tommy Flanagan reminded me of Jason David Frank from Power Rangers. Like they had the same kind of build and that similar looking face. And I'm like, what is Jason David Frank doing in this movie? Like, why is the White Ranger trying to steal diamonds and uh kill Ice Cube and Mike Epps? Um but yeah, Tommy Flanagan. I will say this though, he did crack me up when it comes to the scene where he's playing this over the top flamboyant character in early on in the movie, because it's all an act to trick the guy that he's trying to steal the diamonds from initially. And he's like this director of this photo shoot, and just the way he's like, Fernando. I think that's the word. Francisco. It was like, Francisco. And he's just so over the top that it honestly evoked memories of Tommy Wiseau in the room. And that worked for me. That was pretty funny. But when he wasn't doing that, unless he was playing off of Mike Epps, like in the bathroom scene, it's like, ooh, I'm shitting my pants. uh, he wasn't what I would consider to be the most memorable villain. Same thing goes for Carmen Chaplin. Um, Valerie Rae Miller as Pam, she was fine too, but I don't really think she left as much of an impression as Eva Mendes, probably because she didn't have that much screen time. Uh, Roger Guinevere Smith as this diamond thief working for Williamson, another character really wasn't much of anything. Anthony Michael Hall, it was fun to see him as this con artist and drug dealer who lives in a trailer in the beginning. But it's not really much of a role for him. But he did an okay job with what little he had in terms of screen time. You also have Bow Wow in it as like a neighbor of Reggie's for like one scene or two. I can't really say much about the performance because he was in it for such a small amount of time. But really, it's Ice Cube and Mike Epps' film with Eva Mendes as like the third star. And the trio is terrific. The three of them are really great together. And the film features some cinematography by Glenn McPherson and some editing by Suzanne Hines, but this isn't like a film that has like really a lot of terrific technical elements. Like it looks fine when it comes to cinematography. It does a good job establishing the setting of Miami. There's some nice looking shots of the speedboats or the various different locales that are featured in the movie. But it's not what I would consider to be like a stunning looker of a movie cinematography wise. The editing works when it comes to enhancing some of the action scenes, some of the chases, even some of the comedy. And yeah, it's not going to win any awards for its technical elements, but the technical elements aren't a standout in a bad way either. And the film's like 98 minutes, and it's a really quick paced movie. Like it's honestly about as quick as a speedboat. Like it's that kind of film where it's really fast paced and has a lot of fun moments, really great witty banter between characters, a plot that, while it's a little generic, it still works for what the script throws out there, because a lot of the stuff involving this movie, the biggest selling point, it's not the diamond heist thing, it's not the bad guys, it's Ice Cube and Mike Epps and Eva Mendes. Like that's the biggest selling point, or them winning the lottery and trying to cash in their ticket. Like that's the biggest selling point when it comes to this movie. And it's a pretty big selling point because it's almost like the film hits the lottery because it has that lightning in a bottle kind of quality when it comes to the trio of characters. I genuinely feel that way about Ice Cube, Mike Epps, and Eva Mendes. And yeah, it just sucks that it didn't make that many Benjamins at the box office. You know, it is what it is, but it's definitely a film that over the years has gotten more fans, and deservedly so. This is a pretty good Blu-ray as well from Shout Factory. Um, Definitely would recommend grabbing it if you're a fan of the movie. And Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about all about the Benjamins except thanks for watching my review, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.